of the enemy's tricks is to isolate us and make us think that we are the only ones facing a particular problem. This is true as it relates to father wounds because we generally don't talk about it. The subject may come up around Father's Day, but it is not a guarantee. For the next 9 weeks, I'm going to be sharing conversations with women who have experienced father wounds. Now, although their stories are uniquely different, it is my hope that you will hear something that you can relate to, that resonates with you and makes you feel seen and helps you to find hope. May you finish this series knowing that you are loved, wanted, valued, important, beautiful, precious, cherished, healed, and fathered. Ariane, after losing your father to addiction, when did you know, or maybe you knew before you realized your father had an addiction, that you had a father wound?
The term father wound is really new to me, so I think that brings definition to what I felt was like a void or something was wrong. I remember in my childhood I felt lonely. Once the relationship subsided or started to shift between my father and I. But in adolescence and young adulthood, I really felt this super independence, like I didn't want to trust anybody, really protecting myself for or from disappointment. So I think that's the, going down memory lane, that's the time that I can really identify when those father wounds, now that I know that term, started to affect me.
That's very insightful. I can tell you've been doing some reflection work. And I'm thinking about even my own life, as I process, there was times when I was grieving what I didn't have. Did you see yourself grieving the absence of your father or his addiction or just some of his behaviors at various stages of your life?
I think I was grieving and not necessarily knowing why, because unfortunately in the community that I grew up in, it was very normalized for single parent homes or for the father figure to be an uncle or a grandfather. So I don't remember really relating to feeling a little bit different about that. However, as I got older and really started to have children, I really started to mourn like my children not having a grandfather or a biological grandfather. Like my grandfather potty trained my oldest son. So that was something that like I really took joy in, that my grandfather would step up in that way. But at that point, he was really, really old. And so my other children didn't experience a father figure until I got married.
That's such an interesting point that you bring out. I think for a lot of us, our circumstance and our situation is normalized. We don't know that this is dysfunctional or this is not normal until we come face to face with what normal is, or not even normal, but what a healthy family should look like. So I really appreciate that you're bringing that out. And I appreciate that you said I allowed myself the space to mourn when I realized what was lacking, even in my adulthood. What has grief looked like for you?
As far as a father wound, that grief, I think I'm still unpacking it now that I've identified this term father wound and then reflect back to the absence of my father or the inconsistency of my father being present, being comfortable to sit in that did affect me. And now looking at what wounds do I have? How do they show up in my present life? How am I going to show up and heal those wounds? So grieving that, I don't know if I've went through the full process of grieving that. However, that super independence and pushing people away is kind of normalized, and just letting a select few into my inner circle.
Sure.
Which some of that is healthy. You know, the Bible says for us to, protect our hearts and to guard our hearts.
Yeah.
However, I think that sometimes I can do that a little bit
too much,
too quickly,
yeah.
Based on not really wanting to be disappointed, because that was a theme that I saw early in life.
Mm-hmm. So self-aware. Really, really good insight that you're providing us with. I want to ask you just one more question. If there's a woman who's kind of like, I know that I have some things I need to process. I know I need to really do some introspective work, but they're just afraid of their own feelings, afraid of what they don't know. What type of advice or just a baby step or, just some kind of help would you offer somebody that's like, I don't want to grieve? What would you offer them?
I would say get in a room with God. I think that we're the most authentic in the presence of the Lord. And so really tapping into those emotions, being vulnerable, and just giving it to God first and foremost, even if it's just a conversation. And then from that, I believe the Spirit of the Lord will guide you, maybe into counseling, maybe into, a group, maybe into reading more. But for me, that's where it starts. And actually, I'm still going through this. I'm still going through grief. I'm still going through father wounds, and really looking at it as a template to heal in other areas of my life. So processing with God.
So good, Ariane.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Hey, sister, I hope this video was an encouragement to you. And a great next step is to watch some of the other videos on my YouTube channel. Or you can check out some of the resources that you'll find below in the description section of this video. There is a father wound quiz to help you pinpoint the type of wound that you have experienced. There is also an Overcoming Father Wounds YouVersion devotional, a free chapter of my book, Overcoming Father Wounds, and a podcast, Hope for Women with Father Wounds. All of these resources have been crafted intentionally with you in mind. If you are a woman who has father wounds, be encouraged and know, sis, that there is hope. I also want to invite you to purchase my book, Overcoming Father Wounds, Exchanging Your Pain for God's Perfect Love, as it is yet another resource that I have created with you in mind. Take care, be blessed, and be encouraged.